Hello and welcome to another episode of Staying Power, the show that is all about building a better life. You want a better life? We all do. You're in the right place, and for the next hour, we are going to talk about one part of what it takes to build a better life, and we hope that it resonates with you and you can do something with it, because that's the whole idea. By we, I'm JDK Winnikin, and I'm here with my friend, my business partner, my confidant, so many things, and just an amazing co-host in her own right with so many different things to share. Ashley Kniebel. Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here today because we're always going to have a good conversation in here. So, and you can't necessarily say that about every single conversation you're going to have every single day.
Yeah, I know generally our conversations are always one I can look forward to because I know I'm going to probably learn something. I will laugh. Yeah. It's going to be enjoyable. And there's not too many other people like that I know that it's always going to be good. Yeah,
it's always fun. And plus, there's a really good chance you're going to laugh at me at some point.
Exactly.
Which is always, people enjoy that, actually. I'm finding that out, which I'm
Really?
Yeah, I'm trying not to take that too personally. But yeah, There are people who enjoy that. But anyway, that's all right. So, Ashley, today, I think we have a really interesting topic. And I think that every week. But this one,
I'm already laughing.
This one, we both agreed we would tentatively call that awkward bridge between chapters.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you want to try and explain what that means, what we're talking about, with any context or what you mean, what we were going to look at?
Sure.
Okay.
Take a whack at it.
Take a whack at it.
Well, I think we've all gone through those awkward bridges between chapter phases where you are ending something and you're beginning something else. And you're not quite sure what happens in between the midst of those things.
Okay.
And sometimes those can be like really big life changes. And there's no blending of the transition. It's just from here to there, black to white. And sometimes there can be a little bit of a transition in between. And it's a weird place to be. Because it's not a place to be grounded necessarily. You might want to find grounding within yourself.
Right.
But you know it's fleeting. It's temporary. So do you attach to anything during that time? Maybe not. Do you find peace in it? Maybe not. Maybe you can. But a lot of times if it's temporary, then a lot of things that can happen in there can feel like, what is the point? I'm just passing time. I'm just waiting for that to begin. And what do I do with this? Am I going to waste it or am I going to make it valuable? But then again, if it's temporary, I don't want to get too attached and pour too much time into this if it's going to be gone in a short time later.
Right. And you may not necessarily know how long that bridge is going to last, right?
Fair.
Okay. So I think there's a lot of images that come to mind. I think of like if you're getting ready to move from one place to another. And you know that a time in one location is ending and maybe you're moving across town or across country and there's that middle period where you no longer really live in your place because you're packing it up. Maybe you're getting ready to, move away. Your job is ending and you have to go to a new place. You're not sure where you're going to live. You're not sure what the new job's going to be like. You're not sure what the new environment's going to be like. And what does that transition look like? And when do you really get settled in the new place?
When do you start unpacking boxes?
Right. Right. So, but we could be talking about the end of a relationship, right? And something like that, or maybe a change in career, or just noticing. We've talked on the show before about where you have friendships that change, right, and end, or if someone passes away, and there's that. That awkward place, because I like how you said that. You can find maybe grounding in yourself, but tough to feel grounded in where you are, what's happening when everything feels fluid. Okay. And by your suggestion, it's not a comfortable space to be, generally speaking. Right. Yeah. Right. And of course, what this show is all about is, in a lot of ways, learning how to become more comfortable with discomfort, recognizing it as a regular, normal part of life that actually can be instructive because, like everything else, it seems like those are when we really learn the most things. Right? If we weren't having struggles, I'm not sure how much we learn. Anyway, does that sound about right?
Sounds good.
Okay.
To me.
Was there something specific where this came up? An example? Have you been facing this recently anywhere? Or?
Oh, sure. I have recently had a couple of relationships that were friends and transitioned solely to just like professional relationships, and that was kind of a strange period of time. There have been moments recently where I think at one point on this show we talked about how I was starting to work with a coach in a business environment, and has been great. And it's kind of at the point where I feel like it might have run its course. But it's not over. So it's a little bit in that strange limbo of like, did we accomplish everything of the point of why we hired the coach?
Mm-hmm.
Do I still need to utilize them? Is there more I can glean from them? Or are we just now like running out the clock on it? And what do we do with that time?
Yeah.
Because it's paid time. I don't want to waste their time. They don't want to waste my time. We're not just showing up to be like, okay, hi, check in. We did it. We're here.
Yeah.
We want to make it worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we kind of feel like we've totally squeezed the lemon and there's nothing left in it.
Got it.
So
Got
what do
it.
you do with that?
So yeah, that sounds tough, because after a while that can actually, the fear would be that can have diminishing returns, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want that to rub everybody the wrong way, or just have, things get tuned out or you lose momentum. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what my most recent one of those has been. I've had a lot of them. I've talked about on the show before, of transitioning out of a crazy time of life into a not crazy time of life. But these seem to happen to me a lot. These and they're what anthropologists call liminal spaces, right? And you're going to laugh because I'm going to talk about the brain again. But these liminal spaces are things that produce anxiety in the brain, because as we've talked about before, the brain wants predictability. Brain doesn't like uncertainty. So when we have fears about what a new relationship might be bringing to the table and we're not sure what they're thinking, we start making up stories that can either help us feel better or are feeding our worst, attachment style challenges or whatever the case may be. But these liminal spaces we don't like because they're stressful. Mm-hmm. And we don't want them. And like you suggested, they are open-ended. And so the first thing here is to recognize that the craving to not have them is normal.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We were all worried.
Yeah, well, because ambiguity, like of the kind you're talking about, again, activates the part of the brain, the amygdala, that is all about looking for safety, looking for threat, wanting to feel better, right? And wanting clarity, right? And what we're talking about is being able to recognize that and move away from that to the part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, that says, okay, hold on. There's some things we can follow here, or there's some things that I can soothe myself in this. I can feel better about all of this, right? So, it also challenges narrative identity, right? This experience you've had at work, I know, has been largely positive, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's changed your narrative, I think. Is that fair to say, about your role in everything, or what the business is doing and how they're doing things? Okay.
Yes.
Is that both exciting and scary? More scary than exciting?
I would say exciting. I find it to be exhilarating, actually.
Ooh.
Because I feel like I've learned a lot and I have grown a lot. And it's kind of that adventurous feeling of, all right, I think I'm ready to fly now and I want to try it. And I think I can do it without them. Mm-hmm. Like I'm very solid on my own 2 feet now and can spread my wings and fly.
Okay. So the new narrative is in place in some ways. Mm-hmm. It makes me wonder, before all this happened, was there a narrative identity crisis going on for you?
Perhaps there was. It wasn't just coaching for me. It was coaching for a lot of my staff.
Right. Good point.
So within that, there was a lot of reorienting of expectations and guidelines and who is in charge of what, and outlining a lot of that has really helped people that I work with and that are under me to really understand their role, and they have a clearer vision of what my role is. Mm-hmm. And there is a level of just respect and understandability that has come into this now, that it's amazing how much more well-oiled we are, which is great. And it was totally worth it. But, now it's kind of like, okay, well, is there do we need more oil? Or are we all good?
Right. Trying to have everything we need.
Yes, right. Because you don't want to wave goodbye and then be like, oh, but wait, we're missing something.
Is the car all tricked out the way it's supposed to be? Right.
So, that's where that's at. But been a very good experience, a very helpful experience. But it did kind of trigger this strange phenomenon. And then I started to ponder, how often do people go through that, and to what degree? You mentioned something earlier, which I think everybody at some given time can relate, is in like the dating world.
Oh,
You're seeing somebody, but are you official? And does that mean they're not seeing anybody anymore and you're not seeing anybody more?
boy.
Do you get attached at all during that weird period? Are you in? Are you out? Are you both feet in? Are you 1 foot out? Are we dancing? What is happening? And that part is so awkward.
Oh,
It's such a strange period to be in, and such a bridge.
it is. It is. I may have a story about that, but I don't particularly want to talk right now.
We'll just get further in the episode and ask again.
We'll see. We'll see at some point in the future. But yes, yeah, that's a great example, right? A great example. One to kind of take you off the hot seat a little bit. Thank you for sharing all that. I've had something similar, as you know, Ashley, because you've been on the ground floor for a lot of the stuff that we're working on. I have, for a lot of years, I knew I wanted to be a professor of history. I wanted to teach. I wanted to study history, and I wanted to be that. That changed very vividly a number of years ago. I've talked about it on the show before. And in some ways, I've felt like some of those liminal gaps ever since. I've tried different things. I've worked in the nonprofit world. I'm moonlighting as a bartender currently. I'm trying these different things, all with the idea of like, okay, what does this all mean for me, right? So that narrative identity has been a challenge for me for a long time. And I focused for a long time on the narrative part of me as a human. That had to be addressed. That part I've been able to do a lot more with and have a lot more clarity on what that narrative is of who I am as a person and how I want to be, what my values are, what matters most to me. Still have a few things I'm working on there, but in terms of profession, career, mission, tying that sense of self to a sense of purpose and meaning has been elusive for about, at least a dozen years off and on, but particularly in the last few since I started getting into this and we started doing coaching. I've written a book that's still kind of floating around out there that I'm trying to do something with. And I have struggled for a long time with how does this all fit together? And my concern for my narrative thing with this, my narrative theory was, am I just throwing things against the wall with no rhyme or reason for how this all fits? And people have asked me, including people we both know, who we trust, who know business, who know this, are like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah, how is this all working? Like, you're trying lots of things. And I mean, they always laud me for being willing to continue to try, right? But the long and short of this is, recently, I think that awkward bridge, I'm starting to get across it to the other end. I think I am.
You found the other side?
I'm closer.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm closer. And it's been through a whole series of things, a lot of conversations. I've actually had to ask a lot of people to just be really upfront with me, yourself included, and a few others, and to really take the feedback that I get.
Oh, really?
Which I want to be clear to people out there. I have amazing people in my life who can give me great, of course, yes, across from me in particular, who are always willing to give me a lot of support and a lot of direct perspective. And they do it all in ways that are so unique to them. And because I know them and I'm close to them, I recognize it for what it is, right? Some of them a little bit more caustic than others. But I'm not looking at you. I'm not looking at you.
You were looking at me.
They know who they are, actually. But that's been really helpful. And so of late, I've been better able to see how all those things, my past experience, the values I have, the coaching I do, the podcast work that we're doing with this show and with other shows, my writing, how it all fits together. And it's challenging me in ways that I was not expecting, because I'm going, okay, this is more and more my awareness of this is my narrative identity, to put it in these terms. But wow, in order for me to sustain that, build it, and move it forward, I actually have to push myself in some new ways that I don't think I realized I needed to be able to do, and I didn't really know how to do them.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's and some of that I'm going to talk about in maybe one of our segments coming up a little bit later. So I'll address it.
You have lots of things to share.
I do, but I didn't want this to be something at the front end of the show where you just felt like we were talking about what was going on with your business. This is something I relate to deeply. And there is something about wanting that clarity, that closure. We have a cognitive bias in our brain. We want closure. We want ends to the stories. You mentioned the dating one. Is this person losing interest? Was I really fun at first, and as they're getting to know me, they like me less and less? What does that mean? And does that mean I'm being rejected? Does that mean I'm being replaced? All these things can come up, and we don't like that. And so the brain goes to the places that can give us some meaning, definition, even if we don't like it, right? It's hard to leave that wide open, right? And it's been hard to, with this side of things, what I was just talking about, to be patient with it. It's been a challenge. So all that taken together, I think that means we have hopefully established what we're going to be talking about, what we're already talking about. And for those of you listening, who are not completely lost on what we're talking about, hopefully that's none of you, but hopefully you're able to think about what it is for you that might be that. Because I think we probably, Ashley, is it fair to say we probably all have something like this at any given time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe it wasn't recognized as this.
Yeah.
But everybody has gone through, it's so safe to say that everybody has gone through something in a period of time that was uncomfortable, that they didn't know how to name it because maybe it didn't have a name. Mm-hmm. But it was that weird transition period, and you just got to go through it. Sometimes it relies on you to get through it, and then sometimes it's just passing of the time.
Right.
But it's still there.
It is.
And you still got to live it.
It is. Yeah. And, and it drives home the point to me of what I try to remember in times like this is that we think that if we get clarity, the discomfort is going to go away. And maybe it does, but maybe it doesn't. And also, what if a better way to frame it, and I think it is a better way to frame it, is the discomfort is the clarity actually building, moving towards that, which means you cannot do without it.
Right.
Right. It's not just going to pop up out of nowhere, right? It's not going to drop right in front of you. And of course, we also know from history, from psychology, from all these things that big transitions, personally, culturally, historically, are really where the big transformations happen, where we take big leaps forward. And it feels like that's what you're excited about in your practice, and it's what I'm excited about in all the things I'm doing. And it also brings I feel like I got to take a deep breath, like I'm about to jump off a diving board or something.
Oh.
Like that. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay. All right, Ashley, we're underway. We're rolling.
Underway.
And for all of you, we're glad you're along for the ride. We are going to go ahead and take a break here on Staying Power. When we come back, we'll continue with this. And also in our next segment, we will have our weekly feature, which we'll tell you a little bit more about that on the other side. So make sure you come back here on Staying Power. See you in a minute.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force, and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is, my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. My service never stops.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Are you ready to discover remarkable stories of resilience and cultural connection? This is Diaspora, a show sharing the journeys of first-generation immigrants from the Indian subcontinent now building their lives in North America. Inspiring, insightful, and always engaging, Diaspora offers a unique perspective on the immigrant experience. Join me, Aditya Mehta, my guests, on the Diaspora Show every Wednesday at 2 p.m. right here on KKNW.
Working hard to put a smile on your face. Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Staying Power. JD here with Ashley.
Hi.
And we are talking about that awkward bridge between chapters when things are changing and you're not quite sure what's happening in the middle. And Ashley's making fun of me talking with my hands by talking with your hands. So thank you. Anyway.
I didn't say anything.
Now you are. Anyway. That's what we're talking about. And Ashley and I both shared in the first segment that we're both kind of looking at this. We've been experiencing this a little bit. And we suggested strongly that the discomfort is actually the point, right? That's where the clarity comes. And the challenge is we don't necessarily know how long it's going to last, right? So
Very true.
Yeah, it is. Right. So, and again, we're fighting on some level, we're fighting against the instincts built into our body of wanting to be safe, wanting clarity, wanting that safety. But that's not really where resilience gets built, right? It's right in the middle of that. And the key to this show and what we talk about building a better life is developing that resilience, right? So, all right. So there's a whole psychology to this, right? So we have to make peace with uncertainty. Ashley, have you gotten better at that?
At making peace?
With uncertainty, are you more comfortable with uncertainty? Does it depend on what it is?
It does depend on probably which section of my life. The ones that there's uncertainty in a professional sense doesn't feel quite as unsettling as the uncertainty in personal sense. So if it's like a personal relationship, friendship, something of that nature, or family, that feels really uncomfortable when there's uncertainty there. It is so almost comical to myself. I can feel such a difference between if it's in professional versus personal. If it's in professional, it's kind of like, I'll get it figured out. I'll sort it out. I will make amends. It will end in a positive way. Probably because I have more control over it.
Okay.
When it's in like your personal sense, if it's in like a relationship, there's usually another person involved that
usually,
usually you don't have control over it. They have their autonomy as a human.
I say it all the time. There's two of us here.
Yeah. And if something goes awry there, I instantly feel this like little pull, this little tug and a realization of like, I can't control what's happening in this environment right now. And I don't know what's going to happen. It's an uncomfortable situation to be in. Now, granted, I am not in that very often, so I can really relax and let myself be settled. Mm-hmm. But in times where you do feel uncertainty, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
And especially if it's the uncertainty in those moments that we're talking about, like changing from one thing to another. I mean, there is a part of you that has to be laid to rest. If you're closing a chapter and you're about to open the next one.
A small death, as it were.
Kind of, yeah. Like part of you may not move into the next chapter of your life. Part of the people in your previous one, like there's always a saying of like, if you're wanting to grow, you got to sacrifice, and you're like, oh, you got to sacrifice habits and people and this and that. And I read that stuff and I'm like, okay, yes, but have you really stopped to think about what that means? If you're sacrificing people, that means like you're probably not friends with them anymore. Yeah. You're probably not married to them anymore.
Yeah.
You're probably not having family dinners with them anymore because something has happened where they're not making it into the future of your life, or at least to the capacity that they were in before.
Yeah.
And, and they say things like this to do that. Maybe that's what has to happen. But you say it so loftily. And yet it's so heavy to do.
Yeah, that's a really important point, because I think that can get lost in some of those, feel good pushes, just do that rah kind of do that kind of thing. Because the bumper stickers. Because one of the things that it does that I don't like is that it doesn't embrace the importance and the necessity of recognizing the loss, even if it's a good thing, right? If you've had a good job and you loved it, and then you suddenly got another one.
Or you retired,
right? It could be that's grief. Recognizing loss is a key to keeping our emotions integrated while we're going through that awkward bridge. To recognize that loss. I recently, one of my best friends shared with me that his primary relationship is ending, and he's really, really sad about it. And he's worked really hard for it not to be there, or not to be happening. And it is. But he also has this sense of, okay, it's time. I've done what I could. And he has some excitement about the future. But the thing that I was listening for when he was talking about it was, is he going to recognize this loss? And boy, he does. He really does. And, this is a person he's loved his whole life, and I grieved with him. And recognize that loss, because it's not what he wanted. That's not what she wanted. That's not what any of us wanted. And yet the fact that he can recognize that told me, and I shared with him, this means, you're not just treating this cavalierly. You're not just hitting the eject button and running away. You understand what this is. And you know that you're about to walk onto this bridge where you can't necessarily see the other side of what it means. And so, and it's so important too, to acknowledge the endings, right? in the case of what we talked about in the first segment, we're not really grieving, right? You're excited that things have, moved beyond that point. For me, I'm feeling more relief than anything else. Like, okay, finally, right? I feel like I got some clarity on what it is the hell I'm doing here, right? That part. But on these things we're talking about, that transitional grief, because if we don't acknowledge those endings, it increases our anxiety and depressive rumination, thinking back, reflecting, all those kinds of things. And it also then prevents us from allowing what I do think also is a positive side of this, not to make it so gloom all the time. On that bridge is where creativity comes, because we can actually create what's coming next. It's not a bridge between a static existence on one hand and a new static over there that you actually have to discover and walk across to. You actually have to build it. And that creativity is so important, but you can't tap into that if you aren't acknowledging what you're leaving behind.
Sure. Well, and you have to understand and embrace the opportunity
Yeah.
of what's coming. And that opportunity doesn't always mean it's positive.
No.
There could be challenges in there,
There could.
But all of that is in the name of hopefully growth and forward motion for what you're trying to do in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that creative space, or it's what Gestalt therapy calls the fertile void concept. It's this fertile void, like where you're in this void, you're on this bridge of not the old way and not the new way. Here's the creativity piece. You have this void in the middle where it's actually fertile soil for you to grow something new. A creative space for you really to explore something, to take a look at how you've done things. Is there anything in your life you want to change? Any behavior you're looking to tackle? Any new goal you're looking to make? Any values you're looking to shift, right? Maybe new avenues to explore, new relationships to explore. That is important, right, in that. Because what that then does is it activates the part of the brain that gets it away from safety all the time and gets it towards possibility and problem solving. How would I do that? If I want to create this new career, what are the steps I need to take? You might be nervous about it, but if you've acknowledged that you're nervous about it and you have grief from what you're leaving behind, you might actually be able to think more clearly on an emotional and an intellectual level about where you want to go next, right? And what that does in the brain is it provides both an adrenaline push, the positive chemical reactions in the brain, but then it also gives us the possibility of like, we can rest from this. We can leave the old part behind. We don't have to be at the new realization yet. This creative space in the middle can actually be a place of refuge and pause, like an oasis in the middle of a desert. You don't stay there, right? If you do stay there, okay, you'll have water, but you're at an oasis the entire time, right? The idea is to get from one point to the other across this desert without dying, right?
Yeah, that would be a good goal to have.
It would be a good goal.
Well, and in this day and age, I feel like there's always this push to be in a hurry and to make transitions quickly, probably because they're uncomfortable. So the faster you can make it happen, the better off you will feel and more comfortable you are. But however, your brain is incredible and it can process things very, very fast. And it will be from here to there, to there, to there so quickly. And you need to give yourself time, your emotions time, your body time to catch up. And some people understand the concept and some people don't believe the concept, but that your body houses a lot of memory.
It does.
And emotions and imprints from things.
Oh, yeah.
And it really does live in you in places, and it can show up as illness if it's not handled and taken care of and addressed and processed, right? And there are times when you're going through transitions and you need to allow yourself time to process that and to move at a slow pace. And that might look like on the first day just in your thoughts acknowledging something and the next day verbally acknowledging it out loud to yourself, and then the next day taking one step of action towards your new chapter. Not these giant leaps and these huge forward motions, but small increasing movements of progression to allow yourself to catch up. Because if you're constantly, your brain is moving from thing to thing to thing and always to the next and the next and the next, your body's going to be so exhausted it will never get rest.
That's true. That's true. And it's and if you put an artificial timeline on it, right? Like I got to be able to do this in 3 months or 6 months, or I want to be there. It's the other thing about, you're talking about the things on social media you see a lot telling you to do these things. You see all these advertisements for programs like, I built such and such coaching practice from $0 to $176,000 in 60 days. Here's how I did it.
On Instagram.
Right. Here's how I did it. Blah, blah, blah. First thing is, A, you didn't do it by yourself. B, you may not even be real anymore. This might just be AI generated, right? There's that. But then I always ask that question too. Where is the human being in all of this? Right? Because
it's a good question.
If you throw yourself into something like that and you want to get through that transition so quickly that you're willing to burn the candle at both ends over 60 days to build something and hopefully give yourself all this revenue, that in the message is everything will be okay if you build a practice this way. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly you burn yourself to a crisp or you're miserable or the bottom falls out. How good was that? No matter what you did in 60 days. Mm-hmm. Whereas even if it took 600 days, a slower build over a longer period of time, that maybe has a little bit more discomfort and uncertainty to it. Maybe it actually builds something a little bit more solid that actually be authentic to you. And then the money might just follow from that place, right? God, what you're mentioning is so important because we listen to the messages. We want the brain to tell us, oh, I can do this. Somebody lays out a schematic for how we too can do the things that they did. And they ignore exactly what you were talking about. We're all bringing our bodies and all that knowledge and experience and those challenges into it. If we don't listen to that, we are not going to get there. And if we somehow do get there, we're not going to be able to hold it without dropping it at some point.
It's very true.
Right? So it's that what you're saying is, you can't worship speed in all these things, right? Okay. All right. So it's a good stopping point here for a minute because we want to do our weekly segment. I know we're going to do it at the end of the segment today. This is our weekly segment where Ashley and I each take a couple of minutes to talk about something that happened in our week. It's either a terror or a triumph, what we learned from it, all in the name of sharing with you, our listeners, what's going on in our lives and with each other, right? All in the name of vulnerability, building connection, and those are the things that build a better life. This week, it is 2 minutes of terror, I believe. So let's just go ahead and jump into that. Everybody get ready to be scared. Here we go. Oh, man. Oh, our engineer Nathan just threw an audible at us. Okay, that was nice. All right.
Loved that. That's so fantastic.
Yeah, that's the terror. Something breaking. Something really expensive.
Probably a mirror. 7 years of bad luck or whatever. All right.
Okay, Ashley, as always, you're first.
After that. All right. Mine, in speaking of a topic of just feeling uncomfortable, I had a moment very recently where I unintentionally hurt somebody that's very close to me.
Oh.
And I didn't think how, things panned out in the way they weren't supposed to. And they were supposed to be told something directly from me, and they heard it from a third party, and it made them feel really awful. And I feel bad. And it wasn't intended to go that way, but that's how it went. And this person is taking it very personally, and I feel awful. And I'm doing my best to try and patch it up and be like, no, that's not what I meant. It's not how it's supposed to go. But there is such a feeling, when you've harmed somebody on accident that you really care about, that really cares about you. And sometimes I've been in that situation with this person and I'm like, they're tough, they'll be fine, they'll get over it, or they're just being sensitive, or, I kind of make up my own narrative to pacify myself. But I'm like, but what if they're not?
Yeah.
I might say they're going to be okay, but what if they're not? And
right.
Who am I to say what they're going to feel and how they're going to be?
Right.
So, anywho, it's a work in progress. I think it'll be fine eventually, but it wasn't a great feeling.
Wow. Thank you for bringing that in. What's interesting about that is I think my terror is something similar, but from the other direction.
Oh.
Yeah. More of me on the side of the person you're talking about.
I was not talking about JD.
No, it's not me. It's not me. Believe me, she has no trouble telling me exactly what she thinks I need to know at any given time, whether I need to know it or not. But nevertheless, it comes from love. I know that. But I am kind of going through, it's a different situation. I didn't hear something that's bothered me. I am confronting with a relationship in my life, or rather new one, all those anxieties that we were kind of alluding to earlier about, God, when you have somebody who's new in your life that you're excited about and that type of thing, and you're connecting on some level, what happens when the rest of reality begins to catch up and things aren't always smooth, things aren't always clear, right? And they're going through stuff. I am battling all these stories that are coming at me because things are a little shifty, a little strange right now. This person's going through some stuff, and I understand that. And yet also I'm like, oh, this is really difficult for me. And it surprises me that it's difficult for me. And it's making me mad on one level, like frustrated, like, hey, you know what? I should know better than this, right? This is okay. They're going through stuff. I'm getting to know this person. They're getting to know me. And in the midst of it, and it's a very complicated thing to explain. I don't want to get into the details, but the terror is I'm uncomfortable with these stories and they keep popping up.
Ooh.
And for somebody who spends a lot of time talking with clients and on this show about identifying stories, to have them continue to be so relentless.
You got a storybook happening?
Like that. It's really, it's not a terror, but I don't like the unsettled feeling I have.
Sure.
And so it's a regular engagement in settling myself down, getting grounded, that kind of thing. And they just pop up, and then it's like whack-a-mole.
Is it like whack-a-mole?
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Whack a story.
So anyway, that's my terror for the week. Okay. Whew. Those were heavy. They were terrors.
Yeah, wow.
Shattered glass indeed. All right.
Seriously.
Nice job on that, Nathan. All right, so let's go ahead and take our second break here on Staying Power. When we come back, as we always do on the back end of the show, we want to talk about things that we can do. Now that we've identified some of these things, laid them all out there, and we're all kind of wrestling with them in our own way, let's talk about the things we can do and what it means to be out on this bridge and be okay with it. We'll be back in just a moment. Let's stay.
I'm Chris Jackimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. Being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA, is really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families. And one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Chris Erdman. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW, I sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs, creative minds, and game changers to uncover the real stories behind their business. On my show, Made of More, we explore the challenges that they've overcome, the breakthroughs that they've celebrated, and the mindset that drives them forward. If you're ready to unlock your full entrepreneurial potential, Made of More is the show for you, because here we know you are made of more. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW.
Real people, real life, real radio. Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Staying Power. JD here with Ashley.
Hi.
And we were talking about that awkward bridge. We're having an awkward giggle. That awkward bridge between chapters. And we hope that so far what we've been saying has been helpful for you and you're kind of thinking of maybe where this is playing out in your life. So this last section today, Ashley and I want to talk about some practical things we can do when you're facing this. Because if you aren't, I question that, first of all. And second of all, if you aren't, for some reason, you will. And so what can you do when that happens? So we can turn and exist with uncertainty and have it still provide purpose and presence, right? We can do it with some curiosity. We can do it with self-trust. And we can do it without having to have an end site or an end time stamp that we can shoot for. So Ashley, let's kind of go back and forth a little bit on this. Where do you want to start with some practical steps?
Ooh, practical steps. You know, I would say a first one that you could do is say it out loud, write it down type of thing. You know, I mentioned earlier that sometimes that position or transition is awkward because it has no name. And for whatever reason, and I'm sure you have some sort of psychological something or other about it, but things.
Oh, I do.
Yeah,
go
always.
ahead.
There is something easier about processing things when you can name it.
Okay.
And if sometimes it's not always giving it an actual name, but it's some sort of identification. Because for whatever reason, identifying it makes it a little bit more understandable and reasonable and comfortable and graspable.
Yeah, because it's in the prefrontal cortex.
There you go.
That problem solves and gives
Prompt.
identity and gives, it takes it out of the fear base.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Yes. See,
Right.
Cue.
I like
There he
that
was.
down. So are you talking about writing out like what you're trying to do or what the transition is?
Could
or what?
be.
Okay.
I mean, I would certainly suggest writing down the transition of
Okay.
I'm here and I'm going there. And
Ooh, I like that.
writing it down's great. I have observed myself and realized I talk to myself way more than I thought I ever did.
That's funny.
It's a little, it was almost embarrassing. I
do
realized
it a lot too.
they used to happen in my head and now they happen out loud. And I'm like, when did I start doing that? And who is around when this is happening?
It's good though, because that's how we
I
process
really
things.
work through stuff.
Yeah.
And I've noticed in these awkward transitions that I've had, I was somehow able to talk myself through like thoughts within the transition based off of talking out loud about it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I actually found it to be better talking to myself about it
100%.
because other people can be great soundboards and other people can give really good insight. But there's something really profound about working through a problem with yourself, by yourself.
Yeah. Tapping into that intuitive part
Mm-hmm.
of you, particularly from that grounded space, right? If you're acknowledging loss, if you're, not putting a time limit on it, that type of thing. I think it helps a lot. I'll do one. You talk about, I'm in this spot. I would say I am in between, coming out of being in between what I thought I was always meant to do and what I have since found out I am meant to do.
Oh, that's huge. That
Right?
should be like a banner
Right?
somewhere. Yes.
Yeah, that is the reality. And me just even saying that out loud is a new framework, right? That I can work with, right? Acknowledging what was there and acknowledging what's coming. And it is true. And it does do that because it takes it out of that realm of the fear-based stuff that our bodies react to so poorly, that safety space, right? Stress us out, flood us with cortisol, puts us in a spot where we go, oh, okay, that makes sense to me. Body can calm down. I actually feel it happening right now as I say that. Speaking of the body, of course, for me, I love the somatic stuff, right? Pausing is my practical suggestion, right? The pause practice. Catch yourself. Don't just run through stuff all the time. Pause, right? If something's a good idea right now, it'll be a good idea in 5 minutes, or it'll be a good idea in an hour, or it'll be a good idea in a week. Just relax a little bit. So what I mean by this, though, all joking aside, is take 3 slow breaths. Don't try and force a deep breath. Pay attention to your breath. Notice if it's shallow. Notice if it's measured. Notice wherever it is. Let it even out into a normal flow. It will just by paying attention to it. And then when you are able, take 3 slow breaths, let them out, scan the body internally. What am I feeling? Do my feet hurt? Is my temperature up? Are my fingers tingly? Is my eyebrows all scrunched up, right? Is my mouth dry? I mean, whatever it might be, take that body scan and then ask, what part of me is trying to rush ahead and why? What part of me? And you don't necessarily have to have an answer. Just asking the question puts us in a spot where the nervous system begins to calm. And then we become more anchored in awareness rather than whatever that is that's driving us to move so quickly. What else, Ashley? Should Ashley? Remember I said at the top of the show she'd find a time to laugh at me? It is here. It's here.
You're really great, JD.
Make it easy.
You do a great job. And I always know I can count on you to bring up that type of stuff, which is great because I am more of a rushy ahead type of person.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
And he's more of a slow it down, little matata type. Anyways, I would say for another suggestion for people, why are you laughing at me?
That's just Hakuna Matata's in my head now.
Oh.
Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
I'm wondering which one of us is Pumbaa and which one of us is Timon.
We're not going there. Okay. I would say
I knew it wasn't good to say even as I was saying it. This is not going to turn out well. Go ahead.
Oh, great movie though. Anyways, I would say another thing that people can do is do what we're doing.
What's that?
Share about it with
Share
the information and what you're going through with a trusted person.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about talking out loud with yourself, but it is also good to talk with others, one other person, because JD and I actually do this pretty often because we are very close and good friends, and we kind of know all the ins and outs of pretty much everything that we're doing.
Yeah, we do.
Most often times. And it is amazing looking back at some of the things that I have gone through in my life over the last couple of years and knowing that you were there for a lot of them.
I saw a lot of in-betweens.
A lot of in-betweens.
Yep.
And good thing he was not judgmental, I don't think, at all, at least to my knowledge. He probably was. He would not know. He's better than me at putting a filter on that. But like, you were always just very, kind and gentle and encouraging and helped me get through a lot of those. So I would say if you are a person on the receiving end of hearing something like that, to just, you don't have to have an answer. First of all, they are not looking for an answer. They might think that they are. They're probably not.
They're seeking one, but they got to find it.
They got to find it in themselves.
Sure.
Yes. And you're a great soundboard just to be present and just to let them talk out loud and work through things. And I would suggest just to be encouraging more on the positive side of things. Don't encourage them to do something totally horrendous and stupid. Encourage them to kind of stay grounded and be mindful of things and their health and taking care of themselves while going through that.
And not feel like they have to find an antidote to the discomfort, that it's okay to be in that spot. We talked on a number of episodes a while back about how it can just take one person in a two-person conversation to open up space for somebody to feel okay and calm down and kind of settle and get out of the fight or flight or the freeze response and kind of settle into that. Anybody can provide that, right? But in order to do that, you have to tell them, right? You have to share that. And one that comes up for me too, they're related. It's a time when you're on a bridge to revisit some of your core values, right? We talked about them a handful of weeks ago on the show. And we encouraged everybody in that episode, revisit them every 6 months just as a good practice, right? We take that quick test, for values and strengths and see what shifts around, right? If that seems too big, you can go a lot smaller than that, right? You can do, identifying micro purposes. One meaningful, I think you mentioned it earlier, one meaningful little action, right? In this transition, on this bridge. What would be a step forward on the bridge, right? What would be something that you're not feeling really great about where you're at, but you still need to cross this thing,
right?
Whether you like it or not. And what's a small step you can take that then you can then acknowledge to yourself, this is really good. And if you can then identify that with what value drove you to that, might help you see which values are most helpful in the midst of it. I've found that some of the values that I hold dearly, they're high up for me, love, kindness, that type of thing, have been helpful in all of this. But one that I've actually had to cultivate a little bit more, and I've been getting a lot of sort of messages from people and my own sensibility, is a little more fortitude on some things, right? Just sticking with something, being a little bit more conscious of just grinding a little bit more. And so I've been actively trying to do that. So every day I'm trying to find or do one of those things that is kind of a sign of that. There's some fortitude, right? There's a little bit more. So I think that's an important one. Anything else?
Ooh, I would say in my theme of talking about it self and talking out loud about it to a trusted individual is to be mindful and observant of the type of words that you're using and how you frame things.
Oh my gosh.
We've talked a lot about framing and reframing and so on. It's really important because what you say in your mind and what you say out loud is shaping your reality. And if you use words like I'm stuck or this is going nowhere or, things like that, you will be always stuck and feeling like you're going nowhere. Or you could use the verbiage of like, this is uncomfortable because I'm transitioning into a new chapter and I am uncertain because of XYZ, but there might be opportunity in those areas. And I understand that I need to go through this. There's something in here I'm learning. There's something in here that's making me better. I don't know what it is yet. Maybe there's not actually something.
Yeah.
But there probably is. And it's just good to know that you're using language that will be supportive of you because we have a running monologue in our brains all day long.
Yep. Yep.
And it would be so interesting. Can you imagine if you could get a printout of your own thoughts, like at the end of the day, to read all what traveled through there and what you said to yourself, what you thought about other people.
Right.
But, and it would probably be really insightful because it would tell you so much about what you think of yourself from a third party perspective.
Right. Exactly. I love that because if we can shape what is possible, if we're telling ourselves we're stuck, if we keep doing that, that shapes what we consider as possible or what we need to do. It can actually send us astray. Whereas if you're talking about in transition, there's motion. I had an experience with this not too long ago with analogies. You know me, I love analogies, right? In the very thing I was talking about, trying to figure out this new, what I'm supposed to be doing, right? This new thing. I was talking with a friend of mine, coach. I mentioned him on here before, Sean Ferguson. I was telling him about, so often with this whole thing about how to do this and in what order. I feel like a shark coming up upon a school of fish. I'm hungry. I need to attack something. I need to eat it. But there's a million fish. And each one of these things that I think I need to do that's important is one of these fish. And there's a million of them. And of course, the reason why fish swim in schools is to prevent predators from knowing where to attack them. Mm-hmm. And so I said, that's how I feel. And he goes, the problem with that, Sean said to me, the problem with that is that the only options are a reckless attack that may or may not do anything or giving up. He said, neither one of those is going to help you or help you feel better about what you're going to be doing. So can I reframe this for you that might maybe help you figure out what order in which to do things? And so instead, the analogy was, imagine you've been in a plane crash, you're the sole survivor, you've got injuries, you're in the middle of nowhere, and you can survive, but you've got to prioritize taking care of these injuries. Mm-hmm. So if the injuries or what you need to do is prioritizing how you need to get out of there to move, does that help you frame what each one of the things you're doing? The bartending, the writing, building the coaching practice, building the podcast empire, all those things. And you know what it did, Ashley? It did exactly that in literally 2 seconds. Where I went, when I look at it that way, bang, 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 bang. That's what they all are. Oh, and now that means I need to put more energy here, not worry so much about this. Mm-hmm. And then later on, I can add in this part because I keep myself from bleeding to death. I get my legs moving so I can kind of walk. And then I can be using my arms a little bit more, taking care of the smaller injuries to get myself where I need to go. For whatever reason, that mattered. And so they're just the reframing. Because what he liked about that was like, I've already told you, you know how to get out of there. Mm-hmm. You just have to prioritize how you're going to treat your injuries.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yep. That framework made all the difference, right? This just was a week or so ago. And it really made a huge difference where I went, all of a sudden, I didn't feel like the shark that either needed to attack something recklessly or just give up and stay hungry, right? So I love those. So that's my way of saying, yes, Ashley, you are right about that. So, all right. All right. Well, whew.
That was a good one.
Really good. Good stuff. Thanks for bringing all of that in, Ashley. There's amazing stuff that came out of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciated the vulnerability as well. And thank you to all of you for listening to this episode of Staying Power. Remember, if you missed any of this episode or you would like to catch up on other episodes, we are coming up on 100 of them, so there's plenty to choose from. You can get Staying Power as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We also have a live stream and a YouTube channel, which we're going to be talking about a lot more in the coming weeks. You can find us there. You can also find out more about us at our radio home, 1150 AM KKNW in Seattle. And at all those locations, you can find links to all the different ways you can communicate with Ashley and me. That's stayingpowershow@gmail.com. It's our social media feeds where you can direct message us. We'd love to hear from you, to get feedback on the show, get ideas for new things, answer any questions, whatever you might share, because we are looking to build a community of people looking to build better lives. And thank you so much for being a part of that this week. We will be back next week with another episode. I am JDK Winnikin.
And I'm Ashley.
And we will see you next week. Thanks very much.
Bye.